biggest goal of the work in creating these pathways through MCEL and overall just representation?
Yeah, so first of all, we as a board, we have a vision of our kids and the race of so yes, the extinction model is very positive. As an individual, it's I want these men to be healthy. And when I say healthy, I mean like mentally, physically healthy. I've lost 100 pounds over the last 5 years. I'm a better father because of that. I have a 9-year-old daughter who will love me unconditionally, and I'm going to be there to walk her in the aisle with her. And so when I come to this, yes, the education work is important, but you're not going to be a great leader if your family isn't whole, if you're not whole. And I think for men in particular, especially those of us in Generation X, like, you're not taught to share your emotions and your feelings. And so you find yourself sometimes at night just talking to yourself, and you need to be talking to somebody. And that's what MCEL provides. That's what it did for me, between brothers. I could call here and say, I got this board meeting coming up, and I think you're going to try to fire me. I'm scared. Can you give me some advice? And it was no judgment. And we're both 6'4". He's 250, I'm 300, right? But I couldn't say that to the world, and I'm trying to be hard for my wife. And then I learned I didn't have to be hard for her. And she wanted me to be bold, but she was a I think if you can help that man become whole in this very challenging way, as Pedro just said, in a system that wasn't designed for us to be in or lead, then and having a support system in the network. I mean, I'm a fraternity guy. I've been Mason since I was 18. I mean, 5 or 6 different fraternities. And again, I'm still a very proud person, but I can walk into a room and just lose sight. We have a common bond, a common language, a common understanding.
You're in a space where you feel seen.
And safe.
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of times our female counterparts use those words, but it's applicable in our world too. We just don't say it out loud. That's the reason we created MCEL, so you can say it out loud. It's okay.
So before you even get to the space of like talent pathways and keeping these individuals in the job, like we need to take care of them holistically before we even get there. I mean, it's basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
That's right.
I mean, basic.
Think about it, just we're just big kids.
That's right.
So when kids come into the and they're hungry, they can't learn. They're scared, they're traumatized, they're walking
I'm
out
on
the street,
YouTube.
in the rain, Chicago, the blood, you gotta take care of people. You know, the people business can be our people. And I think sometimes society, patriarch, whatever, these false notions of manhood and strength. No, I struggle too. And as soon as I recognize that, it made me a much better leader.
Maybe I'm going to pivot this a little bit because I don't realize a lot of time. I'll ask you some questions around this AI space, right? You've been in a lot of different ways, in all types of spaces, right? What is like, well, one of the answers in two different spectrums. One, what's your biggest fear around where we're at? What is the biggest solution that we need to be thinking about to accelerate investment?
My biggest fear is that communities that have high levels of poverty, communities of color, are not understanding its impact to our lives fast enough. And people in leadership, if I had my way, most politicians would be under 50 years old. I think,
that's going to be very controversial.
I don't think
look at Congress like 100
laws for tools you don't even know how to use. These things are life changing.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid of that. I've been playing with the chat GTPs for 4 or 5 years now. I get access to a lot of places. A lot of CEOs, some very big companies, some of the big 7. And I think the average citizen, put it like this. When the internet came out, I was a freshman in college, 94. So barely had an email against the people Florida State had. I really had it. But it took almost 7 years for, please fact check, so I think it took almost 7 years when you get to 100 million users of the With ChatGPT, it took months. So it's going so fast. Like we're at a period what we call exponential. In a lot of communities, rural communities, communities call a lot of communities of poverty. When it first started rolling out, you would see the big schools just run a ban against people cheap. But in private school, they were running. It was part of the curriculum. You look what's going on in China now. Kindergarten, they need a basic coding from the beginning. They know about basic LLM. So My fear is that we're going to be so caught up. Feel like this. I think as much as you guys are on a social media platform, our community spends more time worrying about pop culture than worrying about the future of work and how to make money and the realities of artificial intelligence. I show my mother and some of my grandparents videos about AI, and they don't realize that this is not real.
I had that conversation with my mom as well. She doesn't realize that some of the things that she's looking at online are generated by AI, and they are fictitious. This is not, but it is what she is having the most access to now. It's not things that are factual. It is fiction.
Yes.
100%. Yes.
And I think that what that lends itself to is the potential. Again, we can't stop it, but I think we can put some parameters around it. You're going to see very soon people having like full-on romantic and relationships with a robot, or just their phone, right? Because the way it interacts and learns. You remember now, communication is just, we're all very consistent in our patterns.
Yeah, that's
So if you have a significant other, they know you after a while.
That's right.
This tool is collecting all of that data. So when you answer the question, it's going to feed you what you want to hear.
That's right.
Right? So after a while, you start to believe this, you're in the silo, right? And there's a lot of evidence of really bad things happening with young people because the technology is just technology. So, you talk about suicide ideation, all these things. Sometimes it takes a human, it takes a mother's intuition to step into another versus a computer who's just trying to please you, right? So that's on one front. I think these are tools to use to enhance your abilities, but you gotta have abilities to enhance, right?
Right.
And so I think if we're not careful, communities of color, communities of poverty, rural communities, because their lives are so consistent this way, they're not gonna see this whole world that's moving at a pace. But like, here's my example of the ground floor. The Gamma Car Club, I build cars. I have a 1975 Pontiac Granville convertible with babies and bows on one side of my garage. And I just bought my wife a 2025 Cadillac Red. The technology is so different. Like when the steering wheel turns green in her EV, you can let go. You can't do that with the 75.
No, you gotta
So, but I want you to think about how much has changed in only 50 years. Like, it sounds like a lot of time. That's not a lot of time. I just got that from South Africa doing some work. But again, I think for us, we're not careful. We don't have to educate ourselves, educate our communities. People on AI is because you're not getting stop.
But the thing I was thinking about when you talk about Africa got their country is one of the fastest growing GDPs in the world, right? And I told folks like, when we talk about what they talk about is two different planets, right? So the question to the solution space, where do you think that people need to be thinking about to help solve some of these heavy issues that you think some of these communities are going to have struggled with?
Well, I think, first of all, it's going to have to be a community effort. Our churches, our families, our schools, our parents. I think we're going to have to figure out a way to get more thought leaders in front of the right people. I think inside of the education system, we need to give our kids not only a quality education on the basics, which I think is also part of the problem. Like, can we teach them how to read? Can we teach them how to read? If you get that right, then the rest of it can go a lot easier. Yeah. But simultaneously, we need to expose our young people early to some of these other technologies. Let them play with it. Let them make mistakes with it. And our educators. Like, I'm actually at a place now where I wonder sometimes can the technology be the person of record? And then we start to hire people from the community that actually want to be around you and give them some sort of additional credential. Let the expertise come from the technology, but you have people. Because remember now, when I turned around my high school, I found people that the first thing I did was, are you scared of my kid? Because you can't be here if you're scared of it.
Yeah,
so if me and Cito standing at this door, and you walk all the way around the building to go to your classroom and Cito, you can't work here. Walk up to Cito down and say hello. I bet you will say hello back. Let's start with basic humanity.
It's crazy to say that because I remember when I was in the process of hiring folks, like there were a lot of, especially in the tough schools, they didn't want to be there, but they were like, I need a job. I was like,
This is the
this is the wrong place for you to be at because the thing about when you're in those classrooms, like the kid says you don't like that, it's downhill from there.
Or afraid of it.
But adults are no different. If an adult feel that you have no interest in them,
Right.
they're not going to show you no love back. It's just, I mean, I don't know why the principles don't change, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting how we can detach ourselves from certain things from a child to an adult. So, I'm going to ask another question around this whole AI. The reason I want to keep pushing on this is because what we're trying to always do in the Unlearned podcast, we talk about classroom education culture. We want to educate those that are listening to us. Like, there are solutions on how to solve this. You need to be thinking differently. Right? So we find you as one of those innovators that are always thinking about things differently that bring the sector K-12 education and business here, right? Around a common goal. What would you say, like, I don't know, if I'm somebody watching this and I'm a business and I don't know how to help a school or how to engage with whoever, right? You're already got around trying to help support. What are some of the things I should be thinking about training or vice versa? If I'm a leader, trying to figure out what should I do?
Well, I think one, you have to acknowledge, you know, what the problem is, and making sure whatever the solution that you're creating is of the highest quality, and not just the replication of something else. Really, truly trying to be innovative. Like, if all of us are in the space trying to come up with a business idea, every idea matters. Throw it all on the wall. 90% of them are going to fail. Like, part of, I think, our community's problem sometimes is we don't want to try because we're afraid of failure. Failure is part of the process. It's actually required to get to the exit. You gotta go through that those steps.
Can I ask you something? I don't even think it's a failure. I think it's a failure of them worrying about what people are going to say about them in the failure.
Well, that's part of the failure. You have to go through the steps. Like make it basic. If you have children, the baby, when they first start, they won't fall.
That's right.
But they learn from that fall. You know,
Or riding a bike, like I mean,
riding right, touching a hot stove.
Yeah.
After you do it 1, 2, 3, you
You
start
learn how to do that.
right? And so, but then you also learn, but if I want to eat, which is the end goal, I have to learn how to turn it on. When I was a kid, when I was a kid, you had to get a match and turn on the gas and hope it didn't blow up. It's a process, right? My grandma's house.
That may have aged you a little.
Look, I'm old for you. I'm old for you now. So I think that's part of it is risk aversion is a big, because again, the safety and security of a good job is just part of who we are in our DNA. But you gotta have you have to be not risk averse in order to try the next steps, so that you can ultimately become an owner. When you become an owner, you decide the path of the company. You decide the steps that lead you further to generational wealth. You decide how to pivot to meet the needs of the kids that you want to serve. But as long as you work for somebody else in that space, you gotta do that too.
Well, I think it's a reframe though, because when you come from particular backgrounds like the ones we're talking about, sometimes the economic mobility is just survival. Like I just need to survive, so I may not be trying to ruffle feathers.
Right.
I may not be trying to innovate because right now what is in front of me is that I need a steady income. I just need something to bring in. So while I see that there are public school issues, I see that there are kids, you know, 1/3 of them are proficient, which means the other 2/3 are not. I may have ideas for that, but I'm really thinking pure survival.
Right.
Like,
And there's nothing wrong
and,
with
right,
that.
well, now it's a reframe.
But let's find the people who don't necessarily elevate and elevate them. So like what I was just framed when I was in schools or leading is I never wasted my time with people that were before. See, I spent my time with high performers because I was going to give you more.